you don't really want to work on this deal because the IPO bake-offs are a ton of work, and you already have all this other stuff going on, but you're going to suck it up and you're going to respond with, the most upbeat voice you can and tell your staffer that you will be happy to work on this project. Hey guys, if you like the content that you see here today, I want you to go and click the subscribe button so that you make sure you get all of our future content. I put out weekly content multiple times a week on all things investment banking related. And so I just want to make sure that you get your hands on that. Okay. So today I want to talk about what a day in the life of an investment banking analyst is like. Okay. Because I get this question all the time. A lot of students are thinking about doing investment banking, but they're not really sure what the job is really about, right? Or what do you actually do as an investment banking analyst? So I just drew up like a hypothetical day based on my own experience from back when I was a banking analyst at both Deutsche Bank and at Morgan Stanley. Okay, now, not every single day is going to be the same. Before we dive into kind of what a day in the life is like not every day is going to be the same, right? Some days you're going to be a lot busier than others. But what I've done here is I've drawn up kind of like one of your busier days, okay, when things get a little bit crazy, so that you can kind of get a taste of what that's like. Sometimes you're going to have days that are a lot more chill, where, you have a bunch of downtime and you're browsing ESPN and or whatever other websites it is that you like to look at when you have free time. But I didn't include any of that, okay? But the truth of the matter is, like, when you're on the job, the work really comes in waves, right? It's sometimes you get really, really busy, and other times you're just sitting around waiting for comments from your senior bankers, and you feel like you don't have that much to do. And so even when people say, you're working 70 to 80 hours a week on average, most of the time you're not actually working that entire time at 100% capacity, right? You're not going full throttle that entire time, okay? But with that said, I did want to give you kind of just a glimpse into, I want to give you a glimpse into kind of what a busy day looks like. And that way you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, okay? Or you can figure out if this is really the right career path for you, okay? So let's dive right in. I'm going to timestamp all these things just to kind of give you a sense, right? So first things first, to start, at 8 a.m., you'll wake up, you're going to check your inbox, your email inbox, and you're going to make sure that there's no urgent emails, okay? Because if there's an urgent email, you're going to have to respond to it right away. Assuming there's no urgent emails, you're good. Then you're going to hop in the shower, you're going to eat a quick breakfast, and then you're going to head out to work, all right? Let's say you get into the office by 9 a.m., okay? Again, first thing when you get to the office, you're going to check your email, you're going to check your voicemail, right? You have a desk phone that people can call, and usually you leave that number in your email signature. And so you're going to check both your email inbox again, check your voicemail. You're going to have a bunch of random emails from all sorts of people that you don't know across the firm, especially you're working at a big bank. Different groups, different offices, whatever, deal announcements, general newsletters, whatever it may be. And so these are blasted to the entire firm. So you're going to delete all of these. And then you're going to reply to any emails that actually need responses from you, okay? So you do that for about half an hour. Then, if you still have time, say it's like in the beginning, first part of the day, it's not super busy a lot of times because people are still getting to the office, especially the folks that are more senior than you. Or sometimes, like, the senior folks, they have morning meetings. So it's going to be a little bit slower, right? So say it's 9:30, you still have time. Maybe you start reading the Wall Street Journal. You want to stay up to date on what's going on in the markets. That's part of your job, right? So you do that. Then at 10 a.m., you start working, right? And you basically start working on some of the things that were left over from the night before that wasn't due right away, and you knew you were still going to have more time today to work on it. And so rather than staying super, super late until 2, 3 a.m., you decide to go home early and then come in and finish in the morning, right? So you start working on that around 10 a.m. Then you do that for 2 hours. Then at 12, at noon, you round up your buddies in the bullpen, all the other analysts that you become really, really close to because you guys spend so much time together. It's almost like when you guys are all working so hard together and spending so much time together, it's kind of like pledging a fraternity together, and you get pretty close most of the time. So you're going to round everybody up. You guys are going to go out, grab some lunch. You're going to get it to go so you can come back and eat at the desk. Okay? You come back, you eat at the desk. Now it's 1 p.m. Now you have food coma. And you have to get back to work, right? And then so you slowly ramp back up again, get into kind of the rhythm of things. Now at 1:15 p.m., comments finally come in from your associate on the work that you turned in last night. Okay. Now these these comments are mostly related to a lot of times seemingly pointless things like, formatting, right? Like, oh, change the font size here, or change the color of this pie chart from blue to red, and then make sure you align these bullet points a little bit more to the right. And so, like, seemingly very nitpicky stuff. Just so you know, that's completely the norm in banking. People are total perfectionists about formatting. Okay, so your presentations have to be perfect. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to assume that you did make a few careless mistakes with the numbers. Maybe the number showed up on the first page and the fifth page, and the exact same number, you showed two different numbers, right? Even though it's supposed to be the same. That happens a lot, especially if you don't check your work, or you're tired, or you're just in a rush. And so you have to fix those things, right? So start working on that for the next hour plus or so. This is like the fifth iteration of that presentation that you've already worked on, because in banking you do many, many, many iterations of a presentation before it actually goes to the client. Okay. Then, as you're working on that presentation, your staffer calls you, and typically the staffer is either a VP or a director level, kind of like mid to semi-senior level banker. They're responsible for assigning projects to the junior bankers, right? Telling you who's going to work on what as the deals come in, or as the projects come in from the senior bankers. And so your staffer calls you and asks you if you have bandwidth to take on an IPO bake-off that's happening in 2 days. Okay? What a bake-off means is typically if a company's going to go public, they're going to meet with a lot of different banks, right? It's almost kind of like a beauty pageant. Like every bank that wants the business is going to go in with this big presentation on why they're the best bank to lead this IPO. Okay? All their credentials, their point of view on how the IPO should be positioned. What kind of valuation do they think they can get for the company? Demonstrate kind of their knowledge of the industry and the market landscape, and brag about other awesome marquee IPOs that they've worked on recently and how well those IPOs have gone, whatever it may be. So this is like called a bake-off, right? Usually a lot of works go into a bake-off, because if you win the bake-off, then you win the mandate. That could be millions of dollars in fees for the bank, right? And then so this is what, like, normally banks will do a lot of free work for a client, and just wait, and they're just waiting for the day that the company is actually going to do a deal. And so now the company has finally decided they're going to do a deal. It's a big deal, right? It's a big deal for the bankers. It's a big deal for your boss. This is what's going to determine how much bonus they get at the end of the year, and their bonuses are a lot more dependent on the actual fees that they bring in than your bonuses, right? And so you don't really want to work on this deal because the IPO bake-offs are a ton of work, and you already have all this other stuff going on, but you're going to suck it up and you're going to respond with, the most upbeat voice you can, and tell your staffer that you will be happy to work on this project, okay? Because you want to demonstrate that you have a good attitude and you're a team player, okay? So you do that. 30 minutes later, now it's 3 p.m., you just came out of a meeting with your managing director and the associate that you'll be working on this IPO bake-off with, and your managing director has handed you a markup, which is basically just, they'll take scratch paper, and the managing director will draw out exactly what he wants on each slide, and he'll put all these pieces of scratch paper in order. So slide 1, I want you to do this. Slide 2, I want you to do this. Slide 3, I want you to have this chart. Slide 4, write these bullet points. Slide 5, blah, 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 blah. So the MD will tell you exactly what they want in the presentation, okay? So now you have this markup for this 50-page presentation, okay, which is pretty normal for an IPO deck. And the MD tells you, hey, don't work too hard, but just make sure you have the first draft on my desk first thing tomorrow morning, okay? It's 3 p.m. at this point. Most of your friends that are not in banking, they're getting ready to get off work in about 2 hours and go home and watch Netflix or whatever. Your day's just getting started. This is where the fun starts, okay? So now you have this markup, you have your marching orders, you go back to your desk, and then you're going to spend the next 30 minutes just getting organized, okay? You know it's going to be a super late night, but instead of just diving straight into the work, you don't want to just work hard, you want to work smart, okay? If you're going to survive in banking, you got to work smart. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify the work that actually can be pawned off to other people, okay? What do I mean by that? So for example, your MD needs what's called a PIB, Public Information Book, which means it's got all the information you could possibly find on the company in question, right? Because the managing director has to read up on the company so that he can be knowledgeable when he goes to that meeting, right? And so you submit a request to BIS, which stands for Business Information Services, which is a separate team at the bank. And their job is to just pull all of the things you need for you, right? Like all the research for you. They're really good at just researching, okay? They're like the librarians, basically, right? So they'll pull the SEC filings, they'll pull the equity research reports, both the initiating coverage as well as the most recent earnings. They will include recent press releases and whatever else you specify in your request, right? And so pull all these files together for you, and they'll send it to you in a gigantic email so that you can print it out, bind a book, and then give that book or deliver it to your MD so that he can, that's like his bedtime reading. Before he goes to sleep, he's studying up, he's doing homework, he's cramming for an exam, basically, right? This bake-off is like, it's like final exam for the MD, basically, right? So you do that. The next thing you do is you're going to take certain pages of the markup that you got from the MD, specifically the ones that have, like the logo pages or, the tombstone pages where you're talking about all the deals that the bank has worked on, or certain pages that have a lot of really complex graphics where you have to be like super advanced at PowerPoint to be able to make it look all pretty and stuff. You don't want to waste your time with that. So you're going to make a copy of just those pages, and you're going to give those to your graphics department. Okay, so most big banks, they have a graphics department with people that are just really, really, really good at PowerPoint. They don't know anything about finance. They can't do your model for you, but they can make very, very complex and pretty slides for you. So you're going to pawn that off to those guys so that they can work on those slides for you. And then also your MD, because it's a bake-off, it's an important pitch, it's an important presentation. It's not just your casual, business development meeting with the clients where you're doing free work. But there's a lot of fees on the line. So he told you that he wants the trading comps to be hand spread. Okay, this means that you're not just using FactSet, you're not just using CapIQ and pulling whatever the data is from those software services that you subscribe to. He wants you to go in and manually hand spread these comps so that they're more accurate. Okay, to make sure that every single number is absolutely correct, right? So you're gonna farm that out to a service called Copal in India, which is basically this service in India where you can outsource kind of like a lot of this really time-consuming but repetitive work to, right? Like spreading comps is very formulaic. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do it. So you farm them out to India, and then so those guys are going to spread these comps for you, and you tell them, hey, I need a rush job. Okay, I have to have this back 6 hours from now. Which would be 9:30 p.m. your time, because, hey, you need a draft on the MD's desk by first thing tomorrow morning, right? And you still need some time to put it together, and you're trying to go home at a reasonable hour. So you give them a short turnaround time, and you also make sure to include the instructions that, hey, make sure you back out all the one-time expenses like stock-based compensation and any other adjustments that need to be backed out, okay? Because you need these numbers to be clean, again, it's for the IPO bake-off. So you send that off, and then last but not least, you hit up your buddy in ECM, another analyst that was in your training class with you over the summer, and you ask them for the latest market update slides, right? Because these market update slides are used over and over and over again for all the IPO presentations, but they need to be updated for the latest stock price, right? So you ask your buddy for that. Now that you've delegated as much as you could possibly delegate, now you're going to move on. You spend an hour doing that, but this is time well spent, by the way, okay? Because now maybe you've kind of like gotten rid of maybe half of the slides, by the way. So now you got to get to work on the rest of the slides. Like these are the slides that you have to do on your own, okay? So you start building the discounted cash flow, right? And then you move on to the present transactions. Okay, and then you also have to do all the qualitative slides, like the investor highlights and the risk and mitigations, and how you're going to position this company to the investors, and so on and so forth, right? And so you do that, you start working on those. You do that for about 2 hours, and then at 6:30, as you're still working through these slides, because there's a lot of them, one of the VPs from another project that you've been working on, he swings by your desk and he tells you that, hey, I need your help on that project that we were working on a week ago. Okay, it just came back. You inform him, hey, Mr. VP, I actually just got staffed on this IPO bake-off, and it's happening in 2 days, and I'm completely swamped right now, quite frankly. But hey, I'm happy. You're very PC. You're very tactful. You don't ever want to tell your senior bankers, no, I'm not going to do your work. So instead, what you do is you tell them, hey, I'm happy to work on whatever's more urgent. Maybe you can go and speak with the MD that I'm working on the bake-off with, and you guys can figure out like what you think I should prioritize, and then just let me know. I'm happy to do either one, right? Because I mean, work is work is work. To you, you're gonna be in the office for a long time, no matter what, right? And then so he goes and talks to your MD. Of course, the bake-off takes precedence because there's actually real deal fees on the line, millions of dollars if you win this deal. Plus, the managing director is more senior than the VP, so he pulls rank on him. So the VP relents. He comes back, tells you you're off the hook. He goes to the analyst staffer and asks for a different analyst to be subbed in on this deal to help you out, okay, to basically pinch hit for you, all right? So that happens. You deal with that. You dodge a bullet, and except not really, because you have to work on this bake-off presentation. And so now it's 7 p.m. Now you place your dinner order on Seamless, okay, which is the online delivery food company that a lot of banks use. You get a $25 per diem per day, okay? So to make sure, because you're trying to milk that per diem for all it's worth, you order an entree, you order a drink, and you order dessert to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, right? Why not? Because it's not your money, right? And so you do that, you order all the things you want to eat. And by the way, you've been gaining a ton of weight since you started banking because you haven't really had time to go to the gym as consistently, and you're eating $25 worth of dinner every single night on purpose, right? So anyway, you place the order. Now you have to wait for the food to be delivered. So while you're waiting, you go back and you continue to work on the bake-off while you wait for the food, okay? An hour later, now it's 8 p.m. The food finally arrives. You eat in the conference room this time instead of at your desk, because you have all this food, and also all the other analysts are also eating in the conference room. This is kind of like a daily ritual for you guys, where you just get together for dinner, you eat around the conference table, and then you close the door, and you guys can talk about the latest gossip, whether it's office gossip, whether it's the big football game from last night, or maybe just commiserating about life in general, because you guys are all going to have to stay and pull all-nighters tonight, right? Whatever it may be. Or, oh, your girlfriend got mad at you again because you're not going home, okay? So this is like the one time during the day where you all get together, and then you kind of like do a little bit of that bonding with your class, okay? 30 minutes later, because you can't eat for too long, you got a bunch of work. It's now 8:30. You're back at your desk. You just chugged a Red Bull because you still have a long night ahead of you, and you got to stay awake, and you can't deal with this food coma stuff right now, right? You go into full crank mode, okay? 9:30 p.m., okay? After another hour. Everything you asked for from all the other people that you had delegated to earlier finally comes back, right? You have the PIV materials from the BIS. You got the graphic heavy slides from the graphics team. You have the trading comps that Copo has hand spread for you. You have the market update slides from Equity Capital Markets. Now you got to put all this stuff together into the presentation, right? So you work on that. 30 minutes later, now it's 10 p.m. As you're combining all the different slides you have into the master presentation, your associate stops by your desk to check on you before he heads out, okay? Usually the associate is going to leave the office before you because he's given all the work to you, and he's just waiting for you to finish it so he can check it. So you let him know that, hey, yeah, everything's under control. I got this. I'm almost done, in fact. Why don't you head home? And by the time you're home, I'm gonna have a draft sent to you by email very, very soon, and you can review it when you get home. Okay, so he agrees to that. He's very happy about that plan. He goes home. By 11 p.m., you're finally done with everything. Okay, you emailed the first draft to your associate, and now it's time for you to wait for the comments. So you decide to head downstairs to the 24-hour fitness that's nearby the office, and then you're going to get in a quick lift, right? You're going to go to the gym, you're going to exercise, because you have an hour of just sitting around doing nothing anyway, right? So you might as well, because you can't do anything until your associate gives you comments on your work, right? Alternatively, you don't have to go to the gym. Maybe you don't like working out. You can stick around the office. You can walk around the bullpen. You can, shoot the shit with other people that are still in the office. Maybe you go watch some YouTube videos. You catch up on ESPN on the top 10 highlights out there. Whatever it is that you want to do, but you're gonna have some downtime to take a break. Okay. At midnight, your associate finally gets the comments back to you, and again, lots of silly formatting changes, just like last time, right? Moving the slide orders around, right? Changing the color palette, wordsmithing the bullet points that you already wrote, right? And tweaking the inputs that you use for the DCF, whatever it may be, right? You got to make all the changes that the associates want you to make. And now you make those changes. That takes you another 3 hours because you're basically going through the entire presentation again. Right? And now you're finally done with the comments. Okay, so you're going to email a soft copy as an attachment to both your managing director and your associate, plus whoever else is on this deal team. Okay, but for now, we're just assuming it's just the MD and the associate. And then you're also going to print out a hard copy of both the presentation as well as the PIB that the managing director had requested. You're going to print out hard copies of both of those things and print out one copy and leave it on the managing director's desk. You're going to print out another copy and leave it on the associate's desk. And now you can finally go home. Okay, 3:05, you call an Uber, you head home, you get home at 3:30, you get out of your clothes, you crash without showering because you're just so freaking tired. Who cares? You can shower in the morning anyway. The next morning, you're going to wake up at 9 a.m. Okay, normally you would wake up at 8 a.m. and you're in by 9 a.m. But because you stayed so late last night, you decide to sleep in for an hour. And even then, when I say sleep in, you only got 5.5 hours, which is not that much, right? But you get in at 10 a.m. today. And by the way, your team understands because they know how late you went home, right? Because you sent out the email at 3 a.m. That's what people are looking at. Your senior team members, they're looking at the timestamp of your emails to see how late you actually stayed, okay? And so you get in an hour later the next day, and then rinse and repeat, right? Because now you have one day left. It's the last day before the bake-off, and realistically, it'll probably be even busier than the day before. Okay, now you're just iterating to the presentation. Your associate is going to give you comments. Your MD is going to give you comments. The entire team is going to give you comments, and you guys will just keep working on that until it's ready for the meeting the next day. Okay, and so that's kind of like a glimpse into a day in the life of an investment banking analyst. Again, don't want you to get the wrong idea. You're not going to be working until 3 a.m. every single day. Okay, in fact, like I said, in another video that I've done, if you haven't watched it, you should check it out. But on average, as an investment banking analyst at most of the banks, you're probably going to be working between 70 to 80 hours a week. Okay, of course, if you're working on a bake-off or a live deal, sometimes that can get up to 90, 100, even up 100 plus hours. And that's kind of what this is more like. But otherwise, 78 hours a week, like maybe, 12 hours a day, 9 to 9 on Monday through Friday, and then a little bit of work on the weekends. So it's not always going to be this crazy. But now you have an idea of kind of like what a day in an investment banking analyst's life is like. A lot of things will pop up out of nowhere, right? The gist of it is kind of like you have to be ready for new projects and new staffings and new assignments at any time. You're going to have to juggle a lot of things going on at once. You're going to have to know how to delegate intelligently and how to work as efficiently as possible. And you're going to know how to manage your uppers, your associates, your VPs, your managing directors, manage their expectations, manage your own bandwidth and capacity, and make sure that you let them know in a tactful way if you're not going to be able to do the work that they're asking you to do, right? So hopefully that helps you guys and gives you a sense for what it's like to be an investment banking analyst. And that'll be it for today, all right? Hey there, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're looking for more customized advice that's tailored for your specific situation, then I invite you to book a free strategy session with our team at the link below. We'll talk to you soon.